thrilling intrigue and intrigue. Plot elements of films and TV series that have become beloved by many in recent years. Game of Thrones in the House of the Dragon, White Queen and Zabaluliet, such complications and unpredictable twists. And it seems, well, in life, such a 10 cannot be, for always, and our channel no how can. Only the most thrash to which no scriptwriter will never think, and occurred in real history. Many of these cases in the table inspirations for shocking turns of the film. Some have become entrenched as myths, are actively exploited by the Pakultura, and some are well and unfairly forgotten. In the next few minutes, we'll tell you about some of those cases. Of course, not all of them will make it here, so if you want a sequel, don't hesitate to write about it in the comments. Here we go. The first case we are going to talk about is going to be more of a warm-up, as it is more mythical, and a few people know about it, but mostly only in general terms. It will be about Olga's book, Genia Gorurkovich. Atomka Kagor tried to take from tribe Drevlian double tax, and Atomka Kanza has paid it. Tidlakivsky prince has appeared back in him, and therefore Drevlian Prince Mal has decided not to stop on execution of the former governor of Russia and has sent the matchmaker to his widow to take a free place. Olga turned out to be a woman of character. 20 husbands sent by Prince Malam to Kiev Volodya in it and were buried in the backyard of the prince's harem. Olga is a wise woman and did not start a war. Instead, she asked a few more matchmakers, who this time cordially met. Fedan sent to the bathhouse, where safely Izuzgla. The second revenge took place, then Olga herself went to Malu and promised to marry him first. It was necessary to organize a feast in the bright memory of her late husband. The Drevliansky Druzina floated, poured, got drunk and fell asleep. This we took advantage of to Nichina, Olga, and ordered her Druzina not cut friends. In their sleep, that patience Mala and Burst began a war with large-scale battles and with gardens of fortresses. But no matter how it was, Olga surrounded the Drevlianian capital and soon, but promised to Neotaya Sadhu and leave if she gets from each yard 3 sparrows and 3 pigeons. Having received the birds, Olga ordered them to be tied to their feet with burning soot and set free. The frightened birds flew home to their nest in the city, and the city burned in an instant. And the Drevlians who ran out of the city were caught, cut down and turned into slaves. That was the end of the revenge of Olga's Nihin. Why is this story more of a legend? First of all, plot parallels of this story are traced in ancient European sagas and annals. Remember also the Swedish Queen Sigrid Gorda, who destroyed the matchmakers in the same way. And secondly, the story itself with the sooting of the city by such a method does not inspire confidence. It is unlikely that the bird with the weighted legs will fly anywhere correctly. Nevertheless, this story does not become less spectacular, and such a story should be told, but at least somewhere. Of course, Olga was not only famous for her cruel revenge on the Drevlians. In fact, it was Olga who began to form a normal statehood in Usin. Dolodel minting, coins, established fixed taxes, organized administrative division. Olga first went on an embassy to Germany and Byzantium. Now let's go 1,000 years later, to Petrograd. This time we are going to debunk the myth around which there is already too much hype and animicronization. But it is also quite interesting in itself. In history there is a busy personality around which a lot of rumors and legends hover. Grigory Rasputin. In 1981 in England was published a book about the banty life of various celebrities, where there was an article Ajigandi Russian sex. In this article is sheer nonsense, which was believed by a lot of people. So, Rasputin, who is often drawn in cartoons Ninachik canonical Voldemort or Dark Lord Sauron, is attributed 27 centimeters. But that's not even the point. They say, our Black Poppy, born in Siberia, in his 20s. He was a member of the Whipstaff Society, a sect in which self-mutilation played an important role, despite the fact that initially Clisto and preached ascetic abstinence. We all know that in the sects are not always so pure. Even when Rasputin left his native village, he on his way seduced all the girls, making them part of the South Society, the article says. In St. Petersburg, where he settled before his death, there were many rumors about him during his lifetime. So many claimed that a common thing in his apartment was to observe the following scene. Girls of various classes and social backgrounds gathered around the elderly man sitting in an armchair, eagerly listening to him recite the atonement prayer. On his lap sat one of his concubines, whose hair he stroked and Neshaftable something on the ock dipped in trance. Of course, this myth was dispelled by the Soviets immediately after the revolution, but these nebulae are still confused by many people, because it's just a legend. Rasputin is ranked 5th, but enough of the myths. The third guest will be Edward II, an English king of the early 14th century. Unlike his father, the Prince of Princes did not like war. He didn't like feasts, which often ended in orgies with men. Yes, with the homo-masculine monarch, of course. The pre-war people didn't like it. We've seen this before. It started in his childhood years with a boy named Pierre. In his adult years, one of the king's lovers was Julia Dispenser of the Prisk Norman family, who the French King Philip IV did not like because of his beautiful daughter. No way would you guess with his wife and the Edwards of the Second, because of Bella French, from whom the king had a little quite for children. But the dynasty must go on. You and I are a progressive people. What can't you say about 14th century Europe? At first, because of Bella, he was tolerated with the king so as not to cause a scandal. But over time, shameful rumors began to spread. What the queen, later nicknamed the French she-wolf, could not stand, using her connections and the undesirable France of her husband. Tired of a failed marriage because of Bella, she overthrows the king. She enthroned her son, Edward III. The king lived in various prisons and never wanted to die. Of course, he can't be killed by himself. A crime against the crown. Then, because of Bella, she is ordered to fatten up her husband, cure him and then kill him, with a split poker in the back door. This is to tell the people that the king has died his death. No wound on the body. But this, by the way, not all. Because of Bella managed to distinguish herself in intrigues and in his native France. Exactly will be a lot, so watch your hands. The fact that at the court of his father because of Bella and King of France Philip, for Hilla Graffini Matilda d'Artois, better known as Countess Magoga, who was also a member of the royal dynasty. Magoga was married to the Duke of Burgundy and had 2 daughters, Jean and Blanca. The offending skulls were given to the French principal Philip de Carla, as well as Magoga's niece Marguerite to Louis. By agreement, Jean became heiress of Burgundy and Magogu himself heiress of Artois. The catch was that she disinherited her other nephew, Robert. Who would repay her? So the Duchess of Burgundy dies, Jean becomes Duchess of Burgundy, and Magogu becomes the first female peer of France, of the most powerful feudals. I hope you're not confused, because we're getting down to business from here. It's 1313, because Bella is still married to Edward, the second guest of France, where she gave Bradham Charles and Louis expensive purses, which she soon noticed to Norman knights. Because of suspicion, because of Bella charged Robert, the same offended nephew, to investigate the case. It turned out that Blanca and Margarita cheated their husband's prince with these very knights. Both girls, the same, are tried and imprisoned for life. The cruel sentence was passed by Magog herself in order to keep her position. Later Margarita would be killed in prison in front of Blanca, who would come down from this sum. Further, with the faithful, only heated Carlia began to succeed each other. A year later, King Philip IV dies, his son Louis, husband of Marguerite, ascends the throne. But he soon died and his place was taken by Philip V, husband of Jean. The situation of the new king was unenviable. On the one hand, the daughter of Louis claimed the throne. On the other hand, Magog could kill Carol so that the power was Jean. On the third sister, because of Bella wanted to put his son Edward at once onto thrones. English-French. He made a cunning move and issued the Salic law of the old Franks, according to which the power can be inherited only in the male line, as immediately cut off all 3 contenders. A few years later, he died, also without leaving heirs. But his place comes his younger brother Charles IV, soon also without heirs. The Capitaine dynasty thus ended, but Charles bequeathed the throne to his cousin Philip of Valois, who began a new dynasty. Philip VI was Robert's friend from the same offended nephew, which allowed the latter to finally deal with his unloved aunt. In 1329, Magogu was poisoned, followed by her last daughter, Jean. She had already dealt with her husband, but her teenage son did not forgive her. Edward III imprisoned the mother and executed all the members of the conspiracy. And you remember that these intrigues were designed to make her son the son of 2 powers at once. So, this part succeeded in strengthening its power in England. Edward III, being the grandson of Philip IV and a representative of the former dynasty of the Capitaine, declared his claims to the French throne, and why he begins the famous Stuletian War. according to the results, which is a bit much. The process of formation of French and English national self-consciousness was completed. As we said at the beginning of the video, here we have told only a few interesting intrigues. Another 1001 stories we have left for later. How about the very first documented intrigue in ancient Egypt, or details and throne Charada in ancient Rama? And perhaps you want to know the details of poet Dvortzeviku's in the Russian Empire in the 18th century. If you are interested in this topic, be sure to let me know in the comments, and remember, whatever tin you did not see in the movie or book, even more tin created and will create in real life. See you again, friends.